allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Culpepper.
Present.
Dr. Denson is currently not here. Mr. Griffiths.
Here.
Mr. Huntington.
Present.
Mr. Martin.
Present.
Ms. Mia is currently not here. Mr. Willis. Here. Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum to conduct business this evening.
Okay, thank you. First, I'd like to read something into the record. The Southfield Planning Commission is a 7-member board appointed by the mayor with approval by the city council that acts as in an advisory capacity to the council to make recommendations on text amendments to the Southfield zoning ordinance, zoning requests, special land uses, site plan reviews, the Southfield master plan, and the capital improvement plan. All study meetings and regular meetings are open to the public in accordance with the Open Meeting Act, PA 267 of 1976, and are held on Wednesday evenings at 6:30. Meeting agendas are posted Friday evenings before the next Wednesday meeting and are available for viewing at the cityofsouthfield.com. Copies of plans, text amendments, the master plan, and the capital improvement plan are available for viewing at the planning department offices, and current projects can be viewed using our online interactive tool on the planning department's homepage, Planning Department Projects Online. Contact the planning department at 248-796-4150 with questions Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Can I please have approval of the agenda?
Motion to approve the agenda.
Support. Have a motion by Commissioner Martin, supported by Commissioner Culpepper for approval of the agenda. All in favor? Aye. Okay, it moves forward as stands, as stated. Announcements and communications.
I will have a couple of those once we get into the public hearing site plan portion.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'd like to take this time to open the public hearing. First on the agenda, we have PZR RUDD 19-0001.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So we do have a number of the items that are on the agenda this evening that staff is going to recommend postponement on. The first one that you had mentioned, PZR RUDD 19-0001. This is the rezoning request for the residential unit development district of the Southfield Community Renewal Foundation. So this is the McKinley School site on George Washington. They are not quite ready to continue to move forward. If you recall, we had actually a meeting on site last week, gave the opportunity for the public as well as the Planning Commission to tour the building, kind of get a feel for what's on the inside and on the outside and what the proposal actually was. However, as I noted, the petitioner is not ready to move forward. We actually don't quite know when the date is that they'll be resubmitting to us. So staff this evening would like to recommend a postponement to no date certain. To what that does allow, at least, is for us then to renotice to all the residents to make them aware of when the next meeting would be. Again, because staff just doesn't know when that next meeting will be, we don't want to postpone to a date certain, only to have to continue to do this again and again. So this evening, staff is recommending that PZR RUDD 19-0001 be postponed to no date certain.
Okay, thank you. Do I have a motion? Commissioner Martin.
I'd like to propose that we delay to a date uncertain PZRRUDD 19-0001 to a date uncertain. Support.
Okay, I have a motion to postpone PZRRUDD 19-0001 to a date uncertain. By Mr. Martin, seconded by Commissioner Willis. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Okay, so that will be postponed to a date uncertain.
Thank you. The next item, PZR 18-0003, and PSP 18-0007 under the site plan portion. Both of those items, staff is recommending a postponement as well. Postponement would be to a date certain. That would be your November 20th, 2019 meeting. So again, PZR 18-0003 and PSP 18-0007. This is the rezoning request and the site plan review request of Wassam Kamani for the properties on Farmbrook. So again, staff is recommending postponement on both to November 20th, 2019.
Okay. Okay, do I have a motion?
To the chair,
Commissioner Culpepper.
I so move that PZR 18-003 and PSP 18-007 be postponed to date certain, November 20th.
Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Culpepper for postponement to November 20th, and it was seconded by Commissioner Willis. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so that will be postponed till November 20th, 2019. Next on the agenda.
Okay.
PSL
Go ahead.
U 19-0008.
Yes, thank you. So on your agenda tonight, these are the last two items. PSLU 19-0008, which is the special use request of Mr. Thomas Menino for the use of an existing barn as a small event center, property located at 23410 West 12 Mile Road, north side of 12 Mile Road between Wildbrook and Brooks Lane. Accompanying that is the site plan review request. Again, to use the use the existing barn for a small event center, along with associated parking and other on-site amenities on the same property. The property itself, as you can see on the slide, is on the north side of 12 Mile Road. You can see Bell Road on the right-hand side of the frame, then Telegraph Road on the left-hand side. So this property is probably about a quarter mile, a little bit more than a quarter mile from the corner of Telegraph Road and 12 Mile on the north side of the property. Property itself about 223 feet across, about 200 feet deep. This property sits, as you can see, on the north side of 12 Mile, right adjacent to Chanticleer condominiums. It kind of gives you an idea of what it looks like on the site on the north, south, east, and west. Property is owned RE single-family residential, and in the RE single-family residential, there are a number of uses that can be proposed for the property other than just single-family residential. So under the special land use portion, those uses could include public-private schools, publicly owned buildings, parks or nature preserves, community buildings, country clubs, fraternal lodges, recreational centers, outdoor recreation, also indoor recreation, churches, synagogues, mosques, cemeteries, child care centers, and then recently added were the small event centers within the single-family residential zoning district. Low-density single-family is the future land use plan. If you look at the future land use plan, again, single-family residential is at least the thought for this particular piece of property, but keep in mind that it also allows for other types of uses, institutional uses, and then uses similar to what I had just read from the zoning ordinance for special land use.
Okay.
This is looking at the top of the driveway down to 12 Mile Road, and then looking west along 12 Mile Road from Chanticleer. A couple of other photos, at least the front of the property. This is the barns and the ground itself. As you recall, being on site yesterday or last week, the image on the left-hand side, you were looking west, and then the image on the right-hand side, you're looking northeast. You can see buildings in Chanticleer in the background there. You can see on the property itself, it's kind of gravel right now. In order to kind of keep the rural feel of this property, this site will not be completely paved. There are two portions of the property that will be paved. I'll go to the site plan here. So you can see the barn at the top of the property. The parking lot then would be to the south and west of the property itself. A total of 18 parking spaces, 16 parking spaces are required. Then they also add 2 additional barrier-free spaces just to the west of the barn itself. Based upon the ordinance requirements, those barrier-free spaces, we are requiring that they be hard surfaced. In this case, they'll be asphalt. We wanted to make sure that those barrier-free spaces and the access aisle, that those using those spaces would step off into a flat area, not into gravel, not into stone, something that might be a little bit more unstable. So the parking spaces and the access aisle is required to be asphalt paving. Also, from 12 Mile Road, from the curb cut from 12 Mile Road up to the top of the slope of the driveway, we are also requiring that that be asphalt as well. Again, just a much more stable surface for using vehicles going up and down on it. The balance of the property would be millings and parking. You can see the parking spaces here. While there probably will not be parking stripes, there will be placed at the end of each parking space a bumper block that would designate where the parking space is. What was added to the plan from the last submission, there are a couple of items. There is going to be placed along the east side of that driveway that goes up from 12 Mile Road a 5-foot wide striped walk. So that will go up along the side of the driveway, and then once we get to the existing millings parking, that would then change over to a 5-foot asphalt walk that would connect to the access aisle that's part of the barrier-free spaces. Then continue north and then to the barn itself with asphalt paving. And what we're trying to do is anyone who might be coming from the 12 Mile Road site would at least have a safe place to walk, a designated area striped out, as well as a flat space to get from the driveway then up into the barrier-free spaces. You can see on the plan that there are a couple of areas that are dashed out for future sidewalk. That would be along 12 Mile Road, and also future walk that would come up from 12 Mile Road and then connect to the proposed sidewalk that would be put in temporarily here. Feel that at this time that sidewalk is probably not needed. There's no sidewalk that goes from this property heading west at all until you get to the auto dealerships. So we felt maybe at this time that maybe that sidewalk would not be real necessary. So what we had stated on the plan was that future sidewalk would be installed upon completion of the walk to the west. So should a sidewalk be put in, then this sidewalk would be required to be installed at that time. So what the east elevation of the building looks like, south elevation, west elevation. So with that, that concludes staff's presentation portion. Mr. Menino is here. I don't know if he has anything additional that he'd like to add to the presentation that staff has made. At this time, he meets all his parking requirements. He does need one waiver, and that would be on the north side of the property. There's a 30-foot minimum on all sides for building setback. This building is set back 11 feet 5 inches from the north property line, so we'd be seeking a waiver of over 18 feet from the ZBA to meet that requirement.
Okay, thank you. Can I please have a petitioner please step forward and kind of give an overview of this project? State your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Thomas Menino. I reside at 25575 Rutledge Crossing, Farmington Hills. The project has been moving in a direction where we just felt it was such a great structure to give maybe the opportunity for people to visit it and utilize it and use it to the maximum what it could be used for. 49 people or 50 people, whatever the number is a reasonable number for the property. And there's been a kind of a misconception, like at the previous meeting, another person had spoken about feeling that people are going to come to the area. When you read the ordinance does restrict this piece of property to have the functions be carried on the inside of the property. And it's caused quite, it's a stranglehold on the property. I believe it limits the property on some of its potential. And I wanted to put at ease to the public that this is not the kind of building that you would just rent out to somebody to have a function for 50 people and not monitor it. I mean, I have a lot of really neat things, cool things inside there that I would not. It's not that kind of building. It's not like a clubhouse in a condominium that somebody could have a graduation party or have an unattended function. So this would be more for, like, I see it in the direction of meetings, things that I can control, things where I would have a family member there, or they would. I can't ever see it being given to somebody to operate and do something on their own merits. I mean, I don't see that happening that way. Other than that, I mean, I discussed pretty much the history of the property and just how beautiful it is. The setting is fantastic, and keeping the character natural has been really a very important point to the whole project.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to take this time to open the floor to the public. If anyone would like to speak on this topic, please come forward, state your name and address for the record.
My name is Gerald Gruby. I'm at 29114 Wildbrook and Southfield. And I'm the neighbor about 120 feet to the north of the property, northwest of the property. Just behind Chanticleer. But I've had the privilege of living there for 34 years, and I know what a beautiful area it is. And it's one of the nice things about this. There's not too many areas in Southfield that are like this. And so I agree with Mr. Manini on what he wants to do. I'm very happy to hear that he's going to have some supervision there, because without it, who knows what could happen when you're inviting at 50 people. If he's successful, he'll have 100 meetings there. It'll be 5,000 people that'll visit this area, which is relatively unknown. I have people coming over even now that says, I never knew this place existed back here. And I'm really concerned about the noise factor. It's supposedly open till midnight, and I saw the speakers that he had there, and no insulation in the building. This place is going to be like a drum, and I don't feel like that's a good thing for the peacefulness of this area. It's been a very tranquil area. I don't see any fence indicated on the west property line for this. I know he wants to leave it open and enjoy the woods, but I feel that it's just, I heard him say at the meeting, at the study meeting, that he wants to put up a split rail fence. And it's just a magnet to go down in those woods. And the next thing I know, there are going to be people over my property. And there's one nice thing about being in isolation, that's fine, but it also presents a security problem. Nobody comes down my drive. I haven't been bothered ever since I lived there. But and I feel it's because nobody knows what's back there, and they don't want to be trapped if I'm home. But now you got people coming in, they'll see that I'm pretty isolated. It's so dark there, they can hang out in my backyard, I'd never know they existed. And the other thing is, besides the music and the noise, that the lights on the property, I don't see any lighting indicated on the property, but I did see his antique lamps, which are very nice, but they don't meet dark sky ordinance, and I'm sorry I didn't see the 3 minutes. But anyway, you've got my gist of it. I'm kind of against this.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
If I may, through the chair, to Mr. Groovy, there is a fence that is being proposed along that west property line. It is a split rail fence that is shown on the property line there.
I was going to mention that. That's really not a security fence, and it really doesn't block any lighting. And if anybody wants to go over it, they go over it. They're in the woods. So I think I indicated that at our study meeting.
Okay. Let me see if anybody else wants to speak. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? I'll give you the opportunity, sir.
Hi, I'm Rosalind Simpson from 29200 East Chanticleer. I am here to represent some of the co-owners at Chanticleer's Association. And I agree, it is a beautiful barn. It really is nice. But several of the co-owners do have a concern regarding the noise level. Because it is generally very, very quiet. And there are just a couple things I just want to mention, only because I didn't get anybody to say, yes, I'm for it, but they did make statements or comments. And one of them is that the zoning variance would increase noise, traffic, and disturb our quiet enjoyment of our property. They are opposed to the special use request. I'm glad that Tom said that there would be some supervision, though I'm not sure what type of supervision, because there was a concern regarding young people, young adults, and perhaps transferring over to the Chanticleer property, which is private property, and parking. So we understand that there's 18 parking spaces for approximately 50 people. And we don't know if it's a year-round event and what type of events. And basically, those are the concerns of Chanticleer. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Okay, can I have the petitioner back to the microphone and maybe can address some of those concerns?
Yeah, if I may, through the chair, I have a letter here as well that I'd like to read into the record before Mr. Menino gets up. Okay. All right, so this is to the planning department. It was sent to myself and the city planner on Monday, October 21st. It's from Mr. Joseph Higgins, and he notes it's related to the proposed special use request, PSLU 19-0008. He notes that while attending the annual Woodland Civic Association Festival this past October 5th, I was informed of the request to convert the existing barn located at 23410 West 12 Mile Road to a small event center. This led to considerable concern among my neighbors, prompted me to give the request some thought. I was not at home October 16th and could not attend the Planning Commission study meeting scheduled on that date. Unfortunately, I will be out of town October 23rd and will not be able to be available to attend the Planning Commission's regular meeting scheduled at that time. I do have some thoughts and concerns regarding the special use request, which I would appreciate being considered as you deliberate. As a 35-year Southfield resident, I'm concerned about maintaining the residential appearance and serenity of our neighborhoods. I know when we purchased our home, my wife and I expected a strong residential zoning language to remain in place. I've experienced firsthand how disruptive business uses in homes, shoddy, unkept yards, and frequent light, noise pollution occurrences can quickly destroy a fine residential area. I also note on the city map how close to Chanticleer condominiums and 23490 West 12 Mile Road are to the subject property. The residential peace and quiet they enjoy today is likely to be shattered if the small venue use proposal is approved. I'm guessing that the barn is not a home, but was renovated to function as a business. If so, I'm opposed to its functioning in the midst of our quiet neighborhood. I'm searching for the pros regarding this proposal and failing to come up with many. Perhaps the use of property generating taxes for the city and the county, which would otherwise go fallow. On the con side, however, we don't need more traffic on 12 Mile Road. No traffic light is at this location. Really, a bike rack is planned. That is downright dangerous, to ride a bike on and across 12 Mile Road. It will most likely result in additional traffic in our neighborhood. Lost workmen looking for the barn have already asked me for directions in front of my home. They'll turn around in the driveways, with some making a continuous sweep over our lawns, which happens routinely today. The two streets to our immediate neighborhoods are both dead end. I note that the small event center will have a maximum occupancy rate of 49 people. I fear this will result in more wind-blown trash in the neighborhood and occasional noisy behavior well after dark, dealing with a disrespectful and abusive patron from time to time. I wonder if they will be eating and drinking on the premises, kitchen on the facility. Liquor license would be completely inappropriate. Gatherings will include BYOB options. During events, will there be a manager, security personnel present on site? The con list just seems to go on and on from this residency standpoint. The owner of the property at 23410 West 12 Mile Road appears to be Mr. Thomas Menino. I wonder if he is simply pursuing a small event center to quickly sell it for a profit, or are his interests long-term, which might encourage him to alleviate neighbor concerns. Would a security bond be appropriate to safeguard against property misuse or mismanagement? This would perhaps lessen some of the stress on the property owners immediately adjacent must be feeling. Overall, I fear this action, if approved, is one more small step toward the degradation of residency quality in Southfield. And again, that's signed sincerely, Joseph L. Higgins, 29101 Wildbrook Drive.
Okay, thank you. Okay, ma'am. Yeah, please step forward.
Okay, my name is Minnie Mays, and I'm at 23254 Reynard Drive in 48034 zip code. It's in Chanticleer community. I live there. I know our concerns were covered. There's one thing that I just wanted to add to that. And I guess the original proposal said there was going to be a house. The house would be torn down on the property, and there would be a house built there. Is that still in place? And if so, how is the house used? Is it going to be rented out? Is it going to be used in connection with whoever utilizes the event facility? That would be my concern.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Is there anyone else who would like to speak on this matter? Okay, can I have the petitioner please step forward and see if we can address some of these questions? We had questions considering the fencing, the supervision, parking, type of events, noise level, and also, it's just mentioned a new house being built.
So the last issue about the house, when the property was purchased, this goes back 4 years ago, the real purpose of purchasing the property was to restore the barn. I had a meeting with the planning department, city attorney, all the different departments, building department. They all wanted the house to be torn down. The house was condemned. And so I promised them that I would take the house down. But little did I know that, I was prompt about taking the house down. And then they asked that you can't have an accessory structure on the property without another house. So everybody knew that the city was trying to keep the barn. So I took the house down, and so I came in with a logical proposal to add a house. But with the new zoning that they had for special use, the house plans have always been there. The special use gives everybody an opportunity to maybe enjoy this structure, enjoy the property, and to see something that very few cities have. A lot of cities have a barn, but they don't have something that I really think that could be a centerpiece for the city of Southfield. So there is no plans for a house right now. That was a plan for a different proposal. To talk about the amount of people going down the hill, I've been to that property 4 years now. I've never walked more than 8 feet down the hill. The hill is extremely beautiful, it's extremely wooded, and I don't even know where that gentleman's house is. You certainly can't see the house from the property, and you can't see the house if you walk clear to the most northwestern portion of the Chanticleer fence, which is tall. You would have to hug the fence and hold yourself against it to even see his house. And the only time you could probably see it is in the winter time. So nobody that I know of has ever even traversed the house other than the deer that come up the hill for feeding. And his house is completely unapproachable, along with Chanticleer dumps all their brush and everything over the fence. You can't even go down that hill. So I don't know where there is another house north of the property. And the split rail fence provides, you know, a more than adequate, it adds to the beauty of the property and is consistent with keeping people from going down there. But listen, I've been there, done a lot of work there, and I've never gone down that. I would never even venture. There's a lot of trees that are down and everything else. In terms of the speakers that were in the building, the speakers were in the building because I bought at an auction one time a guy's entire garage. And so those things were in there. I don't play loud music. I don't have loudspeakers. I don't even see the purpose of that being something where I would bother people. And I want to go back to this point about, I just don't see this structure, me giving somebody a key to go into something that means so much to me. I mean, when you look at the place, if you've been fortunate to be there with what you guys have, right down to every screw in the project, I'm not going to let somebody go in there and have a personal party or a private party for themselves. The thing will be chaperoned. There'll always be a representative from my family or close to my family. And I just don't see this being an alcohol or binge fest or that kind of property. The other thing is, in the course of the past 4 years, I've been approached by motorcycle gangs to buy the property, a goat farm, a type of VFW hall, a daycare center. So, I mean, a daycare center, I believe, can be placed on the property, right? Right, a daycare center? That would bring a lot more traffic. So I've had a lot of other types of small business uses that I would see would be way more invasive with noise or a playground on the premises that all these other functions are admissible on the property. And with this new special ordinance, I really honestly feel that my hands are tied, but I'm willing to go forward because I think it's not only restrictive on my part, but it does give you the benefit of being able to do something to improve the city.
Okay. Okay, is there anyone else from the public need to make a statement? If not, I will close the public portion, and I'd like to open it to the commissioners. Any questions, concerns about this project? Commissioner Martin?
If I reviewed the blueprints and the plans properly, there's no outside lighting on the property, so I don't see where there'd be lighting spilling over to other properties.
Yeah, if I may through the chair, there has to be some lighting on the property. Because the property will be used after dark, there are some requirements from the police department that you maintain a certain foot candle amount on the property for safety and security. So the petitioner is in the process right now of putting together a photometric plan. Actually, I received an email from him earlier that it sounds like that might be complete, but we are awaiting that photometric plan to come in. The whole idea behind the photometric plan is, number one, to show where lighting is going to be placed on the property, but number two, to make sure that we don't have glare, anything that would impact the adjacent residents at all.
Okay. Commissioner Willis. Oh, I'm sorry, you finished, Mr. Murphy? Okay.
Thank you. I am struggling with one part of this because overall I like the project and I like the idea of what you're doing. But I struggle with traffic. One of the things I notice is that you are going essentially downhill into a valley when you're coming in and going out. And what I see from the picture from Chanticleer is that you can see a hill, but you can't see anything past the hill. And if you go to the bottom of the parking lot at Chanticleer, you see a concrete wall, essentially. That has to be, looks like it might be as much as 10 feet tall. And I'm looking on page 8 of the handout that you've given up. And when you look at the next one, when you can see the rail, the car on the rail, what you see is that you're very high up in the air. You can see down at traffic. And from the picture that we have here, you can see traffic, kind of coming in a big cluster. All of the properties I've seen on 12 Mile Road, not all, but the properties I've seen, the commercial properties, tended to have a deceleration lane and better sight lines. And I'm just concerned with, it is almost a hidden driveway to me because of the hill. So I'm concerned with whether or not we would need to look at that traffic pattern to ensure a deceleration lane. And that might be as much as to staff as it is to you, Mr. Menino.
If I may, I'm just looking at the traffic engineer's comments for this project.
And while you're doing it, just to note, Chanticleer, next door to it, does have a deceleration lane.
Yeah, but if I may, they also have, I don't know how many units are within that particular development. So it's definitely much more traffic than there would be on this site. Looking at the comments of the traffic engineer, he did not note that he thought that there was any issues with clear zones or any concerns with exiting the site at 12 Mile Road from the property.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner
Thank you.
Denson?
Thank you.
And please let the record show that Commissioner Denson is here.
Sorry. Yes, thank you. Two things. One, about the traffic as well. When we visited the site and when we were leaving, we were, back to back to back. But then what if someone is coming to the facility?
Mm-hmm.
How does that work? Because it was just one way in and one way out. And so what if somebody, if there's a function, somebody's coming and somebody's leaving, how does that work?
If I can go back to the site plan, I mean, the site plan, the width of that driveway coming in is no different than any other driveway on any other project that we have in Southfield. Minimum is 24 feet wide. He's showing a 30-foot radius coming into the site, 20 feet out, which is a requirement and recommended by the traffic engineering department as well as staff. So again, this is a typical driveway coming onto any street within the city. So it should function appropriately. So I don't know quite where the concern is.
Well, it appeared that it was tight, really, for what I saw. Now, I don't know if anybody else felt it, but I did. Yeah. And the other thing is, one of the residents mentioned the supervision. Can he explain, or you explain more about that?
Yeah, I think I'll allow the petitioner to do that because he has mentioned a number of times the plan to not just give someone a key to the facility and not have anyone associated with the property on the site. So I'm going to let Mr. Menino again address that issue. And again, Mr. Menino, this is with regard to having an event on the property and someone, a representative, security or management or something on the property.
Well, I don't know, I'm not in this business, I'm a dentist, so I don't know what other people do that have small event venues, but this is not, again, like a typical small event venue. This is like my own private house, if you want to say, without living there. So I just can't envision, especially like I hear these repeated conversations about, you know, having a function there that's going to be at night till midnight, and I know nothing about it, you know, or I didn't ordain it, or I don't have a family member or somebody there. I just see whatever is going to happen there. I mean, I got a lot of valuable stuff in there. I don't need stuff stolen. Anybody that's been in there, and there's so much more stuff going in there, I don't want stuff broken. It would be like going to, on a small scale, I hate to even say it, like my daughter got married at Greenfield Village inside the museum. And it was so filled with so many neat things, and you know, people didn't damage those things. It was very well protected. There was a lot of people, and you're only talking 40-some people here, that I could always see somebody from, I don't want to use the word corporation because it's not really this isn't really a big business. So I just envision somebody from my family or friends or whatever we open being around. And I don't see great, like I said, like Drink Fest. You wouldn't have some company or some business just have the rights to do whatever they want. I mean, there is restrictions. You have to hold your functions inside. You couldn't pitch a tent there. And that's, you know, a lot of people can, even the gentleman who lives down the street, he could put up a big tent and have 100 people to his house and have a graduation party. I can't even do that here. I can't do any of those things here. The other thing about the driveway, I just want to add, I don't want to get sidetracked, but what is deceiving is there's a curb already there. Do you know what I'm saying? If you look, and that driveway is 24.5 feet or 24 feet wide, which is really big. But what you don't see is, and I don't know enough about this, but these radiuses, they're not even cut in yet because that's not my property. When I put the curb in, I stopped short of the county situation. So if you look at the end of the driveway where that car is, like where that car is, where those stones are in that picture to the right, there's probably another 15 feet or so in this picture before you even see the street. That car isn't even all the way to the end where you would pull out. So those radiuses that you talk about, 20-foot and 30-foot radius, they're not even cut in. You know, they're not even placed in the road yet. What you see, there's going to be more to that. But the driveway itself, you were kind of talking about it being a one-way street. That's 24 feet. It's hard to believe, but that's as big as any. I went to like some of the biggest streets and some of the businesses around the area, and when I chose to clean the property up and put a curb in, I chose one of the bigger 24-foot wide driveways. So, and then like I said, you don't see the rest of what's going to happen with the rest of the curb, which I don't even know. It's just going to, you have to put that in to have the ingress egress.
Okay. Good. Okay, Commissioner Culpepper.
Thank you.
You might want to stick around.
Let me say thank you for putting so much time and effort into that building. I think it was very beneficial to me and the rest of the commissioners to come out to see what you were planning and to actually see it. On paper, it looks good, but eyeball to eyeball, with us looking at what was inside, what was outside. So I took notes of what everybody said, and Mr. Gerald, you know, when you talked at the meeting at the barn, you talked about where your house is and that ledge. Again, to me, that's a buffer. There are a lot of trees there, and I see the little valley. We couldn't see your house. There is more noise coming from the people in Chandelier that will reach you before the barn. And I think another important thing you got to remember, these activities that, if approved, will be held inside the barn. These won't be parties outside where there'll be loud noise outside. This is activity that will be inside. the issue with the parking, with the driveway, when we went out, to the eye, it did look tight, because I was right behind her. And to Commissioner Willis' point about the traffic, let's face it, 12 Mile is a traffic nightmare anyway. East and west is a nightmare, so you're gonna have to be careful going out of there. Overall, I think it'd be a good place to have 40, 50 people inside to do something. I think the people will love what you do inside. It's beautiful. The parking, we wouldn't have a problem with the parking. Let me say to the people in Chandelier, we've had 2 meetings that we've had an abundance of residents come out and voice their opinion, and hopefully we've answered some of them. The biggest issue to me is, I don't know how we're gonna do it, but we have to do it, is people missing that exit entrance going into the barn and coming through your area. You know, people come up and they come into your driveway and turn around and do all this stuff. That has to be addressed, and I can understand that, because you got people doing that now. She did it. So we gotta do something with the signage, directing them when they coming eastbound on 12 Mile, where that barn is, and not to turn into your neighborhood. That's the issue that I think really needs to be drawn. But I'm for this, because I think this will serve a good purpose to people doing a small thing. Now, what I want to do also, Jeff, is I highlighted what Mr. Joseph Higgins said, and I'd like for this to be on the record to make sure he's under the impression that you may be doing something to this property in order to sell it at a profit. So we want to make sure that this is like a home. You're not doing this to come up in a year or two to sell it to make some money from it. And that was one of his concerns. And judging from you, you got a big investment in that, and I'm hoping you're not doing this to disrupt that neighborhood and do something, then sell it to a daycare or something. So we need to make.
I don't know that I can get my money out of it.
Well, I know that, but that's a.
It's not, you can see from the inside, I shouldn't even speak on that.
Yeah, well, okay, I mean, no, we're not gonna debate it. I just want to make sure for the record that that's noted. And also with the, I think you addressed the issue that whatever or whomever is in there, there will be some type of, I'll say security, somebody watching over, making sure that noise isn't abundant outside, people aren't outside disrupting the neighborhood. Because you do want to be a good neighbor. You want to be a good neighbor to whatever or whoever you have in that building. You don't want to have an event and 2 days later you get, or Jeff get a lot of static about you had an affair and you had trash left all out on the yard and all of that. And I think you addressed the issue about how trash would be collected and put up. That would be responsibility of you or your family. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was in the restaurant business. We own 5 restaurants.
Okay, we're not debating this.
Yeah.
You have to
Trash
take,
is
we're not debating this. You have to take it to the chair. I got the floor right now. You have to, okay, but I'm just trying to justify the questions and make sure that we got all the answers to the neighborhood. And it might not be what they want, but we need to make sure we give them the answers and hope that you will be a good neighbor and do what's right for the neighborhood. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Culpepper. Is there anyone else? Commissioner Griffiths.
I think this is a really unique building. It's a really unique site. It's a really important building to preserve. And I was doing some mental math of what it must have taken to restore that building to the quality level that it is. And I mean, I'm just gonna take a guess. I don't think there's any profit ever to be made from this. I think it was a labor of love, and I appreciate you saving an old building like that, because it's a really cool building, and I think it's gonna be great to share with some other people. I don't think it's gonna be rowdy. I think it's the kind of place I would have my company and invite some clients over and friends and family, have a nice little event. Nothing crazy. I think you're limited by the size of your site. The size of the building's not that large. The value of the things inside. I think that's been said over and over and over. I'm trying to frame it a different way, I guess. It's a unique structure, and the land around it has been sold over the last 150 years, and it sits too close to a property line. That's not your problem. That's not a self-created condition. So I think that variance to the north property line should be granted to preserve an important building like this. So I think it's a unique project. We're not going to get 20 other small event centers in residential neighborhoods after this in the city. When this zoning use first came about, I thought it was a really interesting way to preserve some of these unique properties that once they're gone, and you can never recreate that barn in a modern city. So I just think it's too unique of a property to limit the use. You've already established there's a lot more intense, busy, loud things that could be built on that site. 12 miles a super busy road. This isn't going to add any traffic. It's just this small amounts of time where there's a few cars leading in and out of there. I mean, I think from a management point of view, they're going to have to coordinate some sort of maybe a bus transfer or something to get people to the site without everyone bringing their own car, because obviously it won't fit. But I just think it's too unique of a property, and it's just limited in intensity. I wish I had one of these really private wooded lots around here, and that's great, but I think there's going to be a small disruption, if any. So the greater good, I think, is just more important. So I'm for it. It's a unique thing. I think it's a great thing.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I just want to say, too, I'm really glad I had the opportunity. Okay, Commissioner Martin?
I'm sorry. I should If I am correct, the current code enforcement has a time for 10 o'clock during the week and 11 o'clock on the weekends for noise? Or is it 11 and then 12 on Friday, Saturday?
I don't know the exact time frames.
I know it's before the midnight. I don't remember exactly, but I think there's as far as the noise goes, that there are code violations that could be in hand if the noise went too far. And I'm 99% sure that midnight you start hitting the code violation and can be ticketed for that. So that's something that you have to make sure that you're aware of, that you are within city code, because even though they're rezoning the area, you would, if it's rezoned, you would have to stay within city code for the noise. Is that correct?
Okay.
Yeah, yes, and if I may, through the chair, I mean, within the zoning ordinance itself for small event centers, we were very specific as to time frame, 10 a.m. to midnight. The Planning Commission can reduce those. You can change those time frames if you so choose. We give you a window to work in, and if you wanted to make it 10 p.m., 10 a.m. to 10 p.m., you can do that as a Planning Commission as part of the special use request. Time frame that we've installed is 10 a.m. to midnight.
Okay.
I would state then that we stick with the planned time.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Commissioner Denson?
Thank you. Jeff, what are the options in terms of having something so that the other neighborhood, because truthfully, I passed it and had to come back and sorry for the inconvenience to the neighbors, but I think that it will be a problem. So what options do we have to
Make it more visible so that we don't have the issue of passing by.
Right.
I mean, other than signage, something very unique at the entrance. Maybe could be a selling point, maybe in the information that is used for someone who is marketing this particular facility. They could say, hey, look for in this case, I know that there's an old train or an old car right here on the corner. You can see it right there in the picture on the right-hand side. But I think other than some kind of very unique entrance feature, signage, I mean, really those are really the things that would stand out to me as to options that the petitioner has to make it very certain that this is where you turn in to come to the Brooks Barn.
So sizes are you proposing, in any?
I have to get back up there.
It'd be a lot better if you stood up here.
I would propose anything that would improve that visibility. As a matter of fact, when we brought the water line in, I specifically ran an electrical line in the trench of the water line out to there so that we could do something that would be something special. I mean, that's an old railroad cart. Nothing's lighted up there. I mean, there's nothing to show. I don't want to attract anybody right now because I don't want anybody breaking in. But we would do anything that would help to assist within the lighting ordinances and everything else, that I think there could be a very neat entrance. And once something was proposed or finished, it would be well lit at that where it's appropriate, and you would see it much better. Right now, I don't want visibility, so that's why a lot of people pass by. I'm not looking for traffic in there, for somebody to think that there's something there that they can break into.
Okay, good.
Can we make it a condition or something about that? Something.
Yeah, I guess we need to be specific if we're gonna make it a condition. But that's,
To the chair,
Commissioner Martin.
what I would like to suggest is that a portable sign indicating barn entrance for use when you have a function that can be put out at the base of the driveway and then removed when you don't have a function. Something that's not permanent, but only there when you need it. That way it's not disrupting the traffic on 12 Mile. It's not bringing attention to the location, except when the location would be in use.
I would do anything within the course of the, I think that's a right-of-way, so I gotta watch what, I can do anything that would be beneficial to alleviate any traffic concern.
Maybe that's something staff can take a look at and work on a little bit.
Yes, we can look at that. If it's a condition that the Planning Commission would like to make a condition of the site plan approval, we can make that a part of our recommendation that the petitioner work with the city to provide some kind of signage that would be appropriate at the entrance to the property.
Okay.
Jeff,
Sounds
can you
good.
put that in the right-of-way? Can you put that something temporary?
Yeah, if I may through the chair, make sure you direct your questions to the chair. But putting it in the right-of-way, it's highly likely that if one of our code enforcement people went by, they would take it.
No,
So,
but
so it would have to be on your property.
For like a temporary thing, like he says, something that wouldn't be permanent.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, and that's just a suggestion. Commissioner Martin?
To clarify my point about a sign, a temporary sign, I think it would be beneficial for you to work with the Planning Commission to come up with a temporary sign that could sit within the radius on either the east side or the west side of the driveway to bring attention to the driveway, but not be in the right-of-way, within the radiuses of the right-of-way, so
That's a
the
great
driveway,
idea.
so that it can be put out and moved away, rather than a permanent sign.
Yeah, if I may through the chair, to Mr. Martin, you mentioned that the petitioners to work with the Planning Commission to do that. Do you mean Planning Commission or the Planning Department?
Planning Department.
Okay, thank you. Yeah,
Correct.
wanted to make sure that we clarified
Yeah,
that, because
Planning
that could make
Department.
things a little more difficult tonight
Yeah,
in moving forward, should you choose to move forward.
Okay.
I do mean the Planning
Okay,
Department.
thank you. Commissioner Denson, is that, okay, Commissioner Denson?
Yeah, and I'm not suggesting it. I want it to be
Yeah.
a part of the
Condition.
condition.
Okay, that'd be in the site plan. Okay. Okay, commissioners, anyone else? Okay, I had a question too. When I was there, I had an issue about the ladders inside, and I thought they were dangerous, especially the one that's going over this open stairwell. Did you ever come up with a plan for that? You said you would think about it and see what you can come up with.
I think a couple suggestions were made, Mr. Griffiths. I think you talked about like a plexiglass or polycarbonate panel, so any one of those suggestions I would not have a problem.
But you do have a plan to actually do something with those ladders?
Yeah,
Okay.
I would make those not usable during any function.
Okay. And the only really issue I really see you're going to have with the property is probably going to be parking, especially with no striping there. If people don't park straight and they start parking crooked in any kind of way, you're going to be really short on parking, and it's kind of a tight area anyway, so I think it could be a real problem if you don't have some type of supervision there. I think because it's so small and tight, you really do need to have someone there for every event, and they need to be kind of floating outside, inside, making sure people are parking properly. But it's really tight, and with the hills, it could be even a little dangerous, if people are not driving like they're supposed to be driving and parking correctly. But that is one of my main issues, that you have some type of management there at each event. I think that's going to be real important. But glad I had a chance to really see and walk the property and see the inside and see what you have planned and what the possibilities are. I think you did a great job on it, and it's unique to the city of Southfield. It's good to see something unique here in the city of Southfield, something that other places don't have. So I think it can be a great event center for everyone, for small events. I think a lot of people are afraid that you're going to have these big wild parties there, like a lot of event centers, and the big graduation parties where people are just running all over the place and drunk and what have you, but I don't see this place being that type of event center. And I don't think it could be, because it's not really big enough to accommodate people or enough parking for it. But you did a good job on it, and if it's managed properly, I think this could be a great asset for the city of Southfield. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you.
If I may, through the chair, just so I know, were you making a condition that the petitioner have some kind of supervision on site during events?
To the chair,
Commissioner Culpepper.
wouldn't that also be addressing the site plan? The
We'd
parking
make it a
and
part of the special land use. We'd
Yeah.
make it a part of the special land use
Yeah.
portion.
We're going to make that condition along with the lighting direction. That's going to be a condition. I thought we would address that when we do the site plan. You want to do it now?
Yeah, if I may, through the chair. So again, we're going to have two items here. We're going to have the special land use portion.
Right.
And then we're going to have the site plan portion. The special land use, we will address some of the issues that we talked about for the special land use, including hours of operation, the signage issue that we just discussed. The other items, such as fences and activities, I mean, a lot of those things then will be under the site plan portion. So one way or another, we'll cover them.
Okay.
So whether it'll be in the special land use or the site plan portion, what we just discussed here will be covered. Again, what I'm looking for from the Planning Commission is, do you want a condition placed with regard to the requirement for having some kind of supervision on the site during a special event?
Yes, I would like to see that.
Yes. You got consensus. You have consensus, Mr.
Okay,
Chair.
thank you.
Along with the direction.
Okay.
Okay, can we have,
If you're ready for a recommendation,
Recommendation from
staff
the
can do
planning.
that.
Hold on, to the chair.
Commissioner Denson?
Thank you. Also, the sign entrance
Yeah.
as a condition.
Yes. Is it the
That's in the site
signage?
plan.
Yeah, if I may, through the chair.
Not the site plan.
Yeah, the signage issue I'm placing under the special land use portion.
Okay.
Okay, so if you're ready for recommendation?
Yep, ready?
Yes, no.
Hold on, just a minute. Commissioner Griffiths?
Not quite. Signage in quotations, not signage in the traditional sense. It could be a unique, because again, we're trying to preserve the residential character and the historic. I don't want
Oh, yeah.
neon scrolling billboard or, something appropriate, a landmark or an identified icon, but yeah, I don't know, signage sounds too commercial and typical.
To the chair.
Commissioner Culpepper?
Well, I thought we said direction. So if you don't use sign, use the word direction. what we want to do is make sure that we save the neighborhood from people inadvertently going to the neighborhood. So I agree. But I think we said it very nicely. Put something out there at the time of the event, not permanent. When you're having an event, something is out there giving direction that you use this exit or this turn rather than other. It's not permanent. Just something that goes up at the time of the event. Mr. Martin said it very nicely, I thought.
Commissioner Willis?
I'm sorry, it brings back my original issue. One of the things I'm thinking, even with signage, even with an additional marker to the driveway, those cars are moving like 55 miles an hour plus, and if you have to slow down to look at them, if, I just can see a place where you have conflict with cars and additional accidents. I can just see the worst possible situation, and I wonder if signage is enough, simply because of the speed and the visibility of the driveway, and again, okay.
You see it, we don't.
Okay.
I don't see it.
Okay, and I'm not asking for it, just expressing.
That's 12 miles.
Yeah, so if I may through the chair, to Mr. Griffiths' last point, this is what I wrote down from the standpoint of a condition, that the petitioner work with the planning department to come up with options that would properly ID the site and minimize the use of other sites for turnaround traffic.
That's good.
Sounds good.
That way, the options leave it open to whatever that quote-unquote sign might be.
Right.
I agree.
Okay, can we now have the recommendation from the planning department?
Okay. So again, the first item we're taking up is the special land use portion. So with regard to PSLU 19-0008, the special use request of Mr. Thomas Menino for the use of an existing barn as a small event center, the planning department does recommend favorable recommendation with the following reasons and conditions. Submitted special use with any conditions recommended by the planning department and the planning commission will be of such size and character that it will be in harmony with the appropriate and orderly development of the RE single-family residential zoning district. Location, size, intensity, and periods of operation of the proposed use is designed to eliminate any possible nuisance likely to emanate therefrom, which might be adverse to occupants of any nearby permitted use. The proposed use is in accord with the spirit and purpose of the chapter and is not inconsistent with or contrary to the objectives sought to be accomplished by this chapter and principles of sound planning. Proposed uses of such character and vehicular traffic generated will not have an adverse effect or be detrimental to the surrounding land uses or adjacent thoroughfares. Proposed uses of such character and intensity and arranged on the site so as to eliminate the adverse effects resulting from noise, dust, glare, dirt, odor, and fumes. Proposed use will not be adverse to the promotion of the health, safety, and welfare of the community. Proposed use is designed to be operated and to provide security and safety to employees and the general public. Hours of operation shall be limited to 10 a.m. to midnight, 7 days a week. Petitioner is to work with the planning department to come up with options that would properly ID the site and minimize use of other sites for turnaround traffic. And finally, supervision shall be placed on the site at all times during an event on the property.
Okay.
Good job, Jeff.
Sounds good. Okay, can I get a motion from the planning commission?
To the chair,
Commissioner Culpepper.
I recommend PSLU 19-0008 for favorable approval.
Support.
I have a favorable motion by Commissioner Culpepper, supported by Commissioner Griffiths. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so it will move forward as stated with the
So that's the
changes.
special land use portion. Now we have the site plan portion.
Now we have PSP 19-0008, the site plan review.
So I don't know if there's any additional deliberation that the planning commission wants to have, any additional questions on the site plan. Otherwise, I can read the recommendation.
Okay.
To the chair.
Commissioner Martin.
I was not able to attend the viewing of the barn, but I would like to suggest, based on the comments that I've heard, that some information be posted on the historical items that are in the barn, so people understand that there are historical artifacts within the building.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm sorry, yes, sir, it is. I apologize, yeah.
Yeah, the whole thing is historical, really.
Yeah.
So that's actually in the planning. So there's, I don't mean to go back through, historically, the barn is represented in Greenfield Village because it's tied to Henry Ford. So everything, there's other things that you haven't seen in there yet, pictures of the family farm that will all be listed. There's other pieces of equipment in there that I will be making little plaques, like there's a 22-inch bell that came from a church that a family's had in their family for 90 years. So I've been holding information with all these other pieces, and there'll be stuff in there to denote what this is, where it came from.
Okay.
You know, like you weren't there, but there's doors that came from a cigar factory in Ohio.
Remember you talking about the big roll-up door.
Okay, thank you. Okay, can I get a recommendation from the City Planning Department?
Okay, with regard to PSP 19-0008, again, this is the site plan review request of Thomas Menino for the use of the existing barn as a small event center with associated parking and other on-site amenities. The Planning Department does recommend favorable consideration with the following reasons and conditions. Receipt of waivers from the Zoning Board of Appeals for 18 feet 7 inches of rear yard setback, 30 feet required, 11 feet 5 inches provided. Final detailed landscape plan must be approved by the Planning Department prior to the project being reviewed by the City Council. Exterior lighting will be shielded to prevent spillage of glare onto adjacent properties. Photometric lighting plan shall be submitted for review by the Planning Department prior to this item going to the City Council. Petitioners provide a sprinkler system for all landscape areas to encourage preservation of plant material. Petitioners execute a perpetual maintenance agreement for the landscape and parking areas both on site and in the right-of-way, which includes maintenance of any stormwater detention system. Petitioners is to implement the recommendations made by the Southfield Police Department's Crime Prevention Bureau regarding site security. The building will be maintained in accordance with elevations shown on sheet SP2 dated 10/18/19. Approval of the site plan and/or building elevations represented herein does not constitute nor guarantee approval for signage. Separate approval and sign permits must be obtained from the building department for any proposed sign. Bike rack shall be installed in accordance with Article 4, Section 5.29, Paragraph 12. Outside storage shall be prohibited. Hours of operation are limited from 10 a.m. to midnight. All activities shall be held inside the building. In lieu of a 6-foot wall or fence, a split rail fence is being proposed adjacent to residential districts. And the petition is to work with the Planning Department to come up with options that would properly ID the site and minimize the use of other sites for turnaround traffic. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, do I have a motion from the commission?
To the chair,
Commissioner Culpepper.
I recommend PSP 19-0008 favorable.
Commissioner Martin?
Second.
Okay, I have a motion, favorable motion by Commissioner Culpepper, seconded by Commissioner Martin. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so it passes.
Okay, thank
Okay,
you.
thank you, and good luck to you.
Yeah, if I may, through the chair, to Mr. Menino and then the residents who are in the audience this evening. So the Planning Commission is a recommending body only, so they just made a recommendation for approval. This has yet to go to the City Council. The City Council is the one who makes the final approval. So the schedule thus far will be to bring this item to the City Council at a study meeting on November 18th. and then to the city council on the November 25th for the regular meeting for final review. And you will be notified of that meeting.
Okay, thank you. Okay, can I have approval of the minutes, please?
To the chair,
Commissioner Culpepper.
I recommend approval of meeting September 11th, 2019 study meeting, September the 18th, 2019 study meeting, and also September the 25th, 2019 regular meeting.
To the chair.
Second.
I was not present at the September 11th or 12th or 18th meeting, so I plan on abstaining from both of those.
Okay. Can I get a second?
Support.
Support, okay. So we have a motion from Commissioner Culpepper, supported by Commissioner Willis. All in favor of the approval of the minutes? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so the minutes will pass as stated. Public comment, do we have any public comment? Is there a list or no public comment?
No, there's no list, so
Okay.
it's the opportunity for any public who's in the audience this evening to have their 3 minutes.
Okay, so if there's a person who would like to address the commission, you have a 3-minute period where you can speak on whatever you want to speak on.
Rosalind Simpson, 29200 East Chanticleer Drive. Question on the special zoning ordinance. Is that what it's called? To be able to allow special use? Which ordinance does that? I guess it's the
Yeah,
question.
if I may, through the chair. So within the zoning ordinance, under the single-family zoning district, which is Article 5 of Chapter 45, there are permitted uses within the district, and typically those are single-family homes, farms, and then there are stipulations there. There's also a section called special land use.
Okay,
And that's where you find the small event center, as well as stipulations on other uses like churches, group child care home and such.
Okay.
So yes, so you'd be able to find that under Article 5 of Chapter 45
okay.
of the zoning ordinance.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, is there anyone else who would like to speak on this?
My name is Gerald Gruby at 29114 Wildbrook, Southfield. I just have a question. The midnight deadline, is that when the party starts and then they start cleaning up? And could last till 1, whatever?
If I may, through the chair, midnight is the time in which everything should be done on the property.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to make a public comment? Okay, we will close the public portion. Is there any miscellaneous?
Just that your next meeting is going to be November 6th. We do have 2 proposals that have come before us. We're finishing up the reviews on those, and they are actually for 2 properties on Northland Mall site along Greenfield Road.
Okay, great. Okay, if there's nothing else, meeting's adjourned.